What is the craziest thing you have witnessed while in college? Possibly NSW. This didn't happen at my university, but I saw it. I was sort of seeing this guy who went to college a couple towns over, and we were up late one night Skyping. I should mention that his mic wasn't working, so we were webcamming, but typing. Eventually, we both fell asleep at the computer, and when I woke up he was gone, and there was an all caps message saying, "Gotta go. Hole on fire." I tried calling his cell, but he wasn't picking up, and I called the college, but all the lines were full. His webcam was still on. I watched his dorm burn to the ground from the inside, until his monitor melted. Scariest freaking night of my life. He's fine, but it turns out it was arson. Some sucker filled the elevator shaft all the way up with newspaper, poured gasoline in, and then lit it up. I walked into the bathroom at a random party to find two naked guys in the shower pouring orange juice on themselves while a girl watched and laughed. About a week later I met all three while I was out at dinner with one of their friends, and they seemed fairly normal but said weird things like that happen when that honors study group hangs out. I'd have ordered them some OJ. First year at uni in the UK, I heard someone fall to their death outside my door. I lived with 9 other guys in halls of residence, and a guy who was friends with some of them came over to ours for dinner before a big night out on the town. I didn't go out. I was busy making music in my room, then went to bed around 1 or 2. I wake up to the sound of people shouting and laughing outside in the foyer. Drunk people coming home. Normal enough. I lie there listening a bit, then hear something which I assume is someone falling down the stairs. There's a thump, a loud crack, a girl screams, then there's quiet. Slowly, I hear voices start up again, a low panicked bubble of voices. I got up and went out of my front door. I lived on the 3rd floor, with 1 floor above me. Each hall opened onto the foyer, with a large open space in the middle looking down onto the lobby on the ground floor. I looked down and saw the guy who'd come over and eaten dinner in my flat that evening lying on the ground floor, blood pooling round his head. He'd gone out, gotten hugely drunk, taken some and felt like the king of the world. He'd gone to the top floor, thinking he'd jump the 5-meter gap across to the railing of the floor below. He hadn't made it, and fell straight down to the ground floor. I don't clearly remember what happened after that. People were freaking out, and someone had called 999 for an ambulance. I remember going back into my kitchen with a couple of the people who'd been out and seen it happen. My housemate pulled a lot of people in from the foyer to stop them staring in shock. The guy didn't die right away. He was in the ICU in the hospital for a few days, even conscious and looking like he might pull through. Then he had a brain hemorrhage. I can't even remember his name. Don't remember if I ever learned it in the first place. My dorm room was the type where there was 2 rooms that connected and shared a bathroom. My suite mate was banging a girl late at night in the bathroom. I could hear everything. He says to the girl, the code word for when I'm about to blow is Jumanji. 5 minutes later I hear him screaming like it's 1995 again. Jumanji I. Jumanji I. From the on out, I've lost endless hours of sleep from the word Jumanji. Would have been weirder if you didn't hear the first part and woke up to Jumanji I and the sounds of climax. We have this preacher who regularly comes on campus to condemn people to heck. One day, 2 girls decided to strip and run at the old man. It was hilarious. The 2 got arrested and had to sit in the grass, naked and handcuffed. Kinky crap. It's stories like this that make me really miss college. I was on campus once walking through the park and saw a coyote running at full speed past me. I looked up and see about 10 naked frat guys with sticks and pitchforks running after it, not saying a word. They were hired by the Roadrunner. A postdoctoral researcher at my college tried to kill a colleague with a katana, an honest to god legitimate Japanese katana. The man was apparently into martial arts and had been in dispute with another gentleman over a woman. During the confrontation he shouted something to the effect of "You ruined my life." He didn't succeed in killing his peer before he was subdued by police, but his victim and an officer required hospitalization afterwards. Ramblin' wreck. I once visited my friend at university for the weekend during Halloween a few years ago. It was late at night and I was walking back to this girl's room. As we walked by the common area I saw Batman giving it to Sailor Moon from behind, both of them still in full costume, masks and all. In the same vein, I once saw a guy in a ninja costume being blown by Snow White in the kitchen in the middle of a party. Underage at a bar. Turn around and a girl woman whips out a tit, squeezes and lactates about 10 feet across the bar. I didn't realize how fricked up that was till hours later. Till that's a thing. The funniest thing happened to me in my first year. I was an abnormal college student living in the dorms, as I would actually typically get to bed before midnight and mostly always got a good night's sleep. One night I woke up and couldn't get back to sleep, so I decided to walk around the building. I pushed the button to get on the elevator, and when the doors opened I found that a whole talk show set had been built inside. There was one guy sitting behind a desk wearing a full suit, and there was one camera guy in the other corner filming. They had a ton of props, including a huge backdrop on the back wall of the elevator and a bunch of set decorations that made it look like the old Late Night with Conan O'Brien show. Evidently, he did this once a week and would stay up all night in the elevator and would interview whatever guests happened to get on with him. It became really popular by the end of the semester and he ended up having musical guests, stand-up comedians, and all kinds of different acts. This was around 2004 and while it didn't predate YouTube, it predated nice digital video cameras. I still have some of the old files. They're pretty pixely and the sound isn't that great, but if this gets upvoted enough, I'll dig them up and post them to YouTube if anyone wants to see. I'll look through my old backup CDs today and see if I can find them. That actually sounds really cool. You should definitely post those videos. Maybe even make your own thread and whatnot. Post World Series riot. Saw someone who somehow got onto the roof of a dining hall attempt to crowd surf, but the crowd did the oh heck no parting of the season. The dude free fall the 2.5-ish stories onto concrete. Then came the riot cops. Reminded me of streak night, which usually ended up being a huge circle of people waiting for someone to start. Then a hippie chick from Central would take her top off. Everyone would yell. Then the clippity cops would break the whole thing up. Clippity cop equals cop on a horse. I was at my buddy's girlfriend's house. She was having an acid party. Basically there were a couple of groups tripping and we all ended up there at the end of the day. My buddy comes back from the bar with two girls. He and one of the girls drops. The other girl was too drunk for it to be responsible. Anyways, drunk he was really into my buddy. He goes into the bathroom with the two girls to have a more intimate setting. The girl he was tripping with was an old friend and they wanted to have a heart to heart. Anyways, the drunk girl rips down his pants and starts sucking his flaccid dong with all her might. His friend just starts laughing and sits down in the bathtub cracking up at the sight. He yells at me, "Hey Kung Pao Chuck, can you come over here?" I walk around the corner and see him leaning on the sink with this nonsense going down. He just points down and says, "We got a bit of a situation here." I start laughing and sit down with the girl in the bathtub to see how it would unfold. My buddy getting his dong sucked was tripping too hard to really know what to do until he just gets annoyed and says a few words I am certain I will never hear again. "Can you just stop sucking my dong for 5 minutes please?" Yeah, that is a sentence I doubt many will ever hear. I had a friend who would casually call his grandmother to pick him up from parties, but she would end up staying there for about 45 minutes getting drunk and making friends. I also bought weed from a place called Fat Mama's who served all-you-can-eat chicken and fries. To be honest, that sounds like an incredibly smart business plan. In school I hung out with a good amount of football and basketball players. We were a D3 school so these guys knew they weren't going anywhere. By senior a few of them had started doing steroids and were freaking huge. One night there's a party at a football house, and one of the guys, let's call him Bob, ex-GF shows up with another dude. Bob loses his crap, but doesn't say anything to the girl or the guy. Instead he goes outside and picks up the lawnmower and throws it through the windshield of the new guy's SUV. He then proceeds to go upstairs to his bedroom, punching a hole in the wall with every step he took. The last few steps the punches went through 2 walls and into his roommate's bedroom. So yeah, he destroyed a windshield and put about 15 holes in his own wall, and a few in his roommate's bedroom's wall. Bob was a bit crazy. Smoking bong loads in an apartment across the street from one of the main college bars when the SWAT team walks through the door unannounced. Scramble to cover the bong until the sniper walks in and says they don't give a frick about the bong as he sets up at the window. Turns out there was a hostage situation at the bar. Berkeley is a great fricking town. Saw a performance art piece at my liberal arts college where two guys dressed as McDonald's employees were deep frying bacon in front of 6 TVs playing nothing but a loop of a woman chewing. There was also house music blaring. To provide more backstory, it was the end of the semester and the new media department was having their exhibitions outside. Liberal arts colleges will make you do weird things, kids. It's art, man. Upset I am late to this party, but hopefully at least one person will enjoy the story I am about to tell. It was my 8 AM persuasive public speaking course freshman year. A few weeks into the first semester we had to give a speech about ourselves and a moment that defined who we were. Everyone gave a basic speech, talking about hobbies and a proud moment from their past, except for one kid. We will call him Jay. Jay got up and started off his speech like everyone else. Hi, my name is Jay, I am a sophomore majoring in. But then all of a sudden he started ranting. This rant went on for a few seconds about how he feared nothing and that led into a story about him and a friend at a park. So I was at the park with my friend and he told me I was full of crap when I say I fear nothing. I told him that I would prove it by falling flat on my face, which is my greatest fear. So I stood up, spread my arms like Jesus Christ on the cross and fell flat on my face. And in that moment he reenacted that scene from the park. Jay fell flat on his face, without bracing himself, on a hard tile floor. He got up and he was bleeding profusely from his chin. But he didn't stop his speech, he just kept freaking going on, so I got up and I told my friend that I don't freaking fear anything and that he was a little piece of crap for not believing me. I don't fear crap, you hear me? I am fearless. He is saying this all while blood is spilling all over his shirt, the floor and the podium. And then when the speech ended he just went back and sat in his seat. He didn't do anything until the professor made him leave the classroom to get help for the massive gash that was on his chin. I will never forget that day. TLDR. Guy in class gives speech, purposely falls flat on his face, continues speech while bleeding profusely. This happened at the University of Kentucky, so it wasn't a bottom-rate university with crazy students, not saying UK is top-rate by any means. The video is long gone. Maybe the professor saved it. I can try to contact him and ask, but it happened 2 years ago. I transferred from that school after freshman year, so I haven't seen the kid since then. But my roommate from freshman year told me he still goes there. And here is a shameless self-promotion of my Twitter account at Cough69. I'm a struggling comedian who makes jokes sometimes. Saw a girl protesting police brutality in the middle of our main building by getting naked in a Rubbermaid tub filled with bullet shells and watered down mace. Then she scrubbed herself and recited poetry. Even watered down mace, ladipots, why good? Some guy freaking a girl in the butt in the kitchen of the apartment opposite ours, with the lights on and in clear view of about 100 people. I once saw a boy, in the midst of an alcohol and coke rage, literally rip a water fountain bubbler off the wall of our dorm building. We had to evacuate because of flooding. Also there was a lunatic ripping fountains off walls. Halloween at ASU, Arizona State. Most of the girls' costumes were over the top hot, but this one chick really outdid herself. To put this in perspective, I saw her in the cafeteria, freshman I'm assuming, casually walking around with her costume on. Her costume was a baseball jersey, no pants, no underwear, complete butt showing as she walked, and yes, she was hot. First month in college, driving to get a taco around 2 AM. My roommate and I watch a Jeep in front of us use a Honda as a ramp as it boned and flipped over, ejecting 3/4 occupants. The people in the Jeep were drinking and driving. I saw them all and gave them comfort. One of them had a roll bar smash their head. I saw the brains and a pale dead face. The other one was out cold, paralyzed, choking on blood. He flew onto some poor family's front porch. I will never forget the look on their faces when they opened their door to see this disaster on their front lawn rocks. The other occupant had a severed foot and was also out cold. The fourth was upside down in the Jeep, still in his seatbelt. Only a broken collarbone. Motherfricking drinking and driving. Welcome to college. Be safe. Also wear your goddamn seatbelt. We have a common toilet at my uni. Last Halloween I went in to do a pee only to find a guy dressed as Snow White fricking a girl dressed as a S-Piglet. Childhood. Well confused. At my first college party my freshman year the cops showed up at the frat house we were at. Everyone started running and scrambling to get away when one kid somehow managed to get one of his testicles impaled on one of the iron bars on the backyard gate. He screamed and kept running, and after the cops left we found a scrap of his pants and yes, a chunk of his testicle stuck on the tip of the bar. I never found out what happened to that poor kid, but I'm guessing he's not nuts about frat parties. Was wandering in the forests behind the dorms with 3 other buddies after a night of heavy drinking and stumbled upon a cow moose and her baby, like 20 featuring away down the path. I have never been that scared in my entire life, and never thought I could run that fast through trees and shrubs and branches. Moose are huge and terrifying. It's not moose, silly, it's meese. So 3 things I witnessed at this party last year kinda blew my mind. This was a huge party. There was probably about 300-400 people between the people inside and the people outside. As usual, everyone is trying to cram into the garage for the DJ, and this is a 3-door garage basement combo. It is completely packed inside, flowing out a good 30 featuring into their driveway, all full of people shoulder to shoulder trying to get in. I knew the kids who lived there and was let in through the front. Yada yada. About 1 hour later my friend tells one of the house owners, "Yo man, you gotta come to the basement. This girl is just blowing this guy in the corner." We just sat there and said what? The house owners and company forced their way downstairs and lo and behold this girl is straight up blowing this kid in the corner of the dance floor. We didn't want to stop her because we were afraid the kid might blow his load at any minute. So we let it continue, said frick it, and went back upstairs. Same party. It gets broken up around 12 by the police. In helping clear out the party I discovered a couple fricking in a tree. Literally in a tree. Told them to finish up and get out. Also I watched this kid probably 6 feet 8 250 pounds rip a tree about 4 feet tall out of the ground and carry it home. Yep, college. At a fraternity party there was an old alumni around 60 years old doing a keg stand. 2 girls came up to him and asked if he wanted to motorboat them. He smiled and said sorry to disappoint ladies, but I'm married, flashed his ring, and disappeared into the night. Classy mother sucker. +1 for respecting the sanctity of marriage but still knowing how to party hard. Not my story but awesome. Ann in college has that guy who graduated like 10 years before but just couldn't give up the life. Big house party early in the year. Lots of freshmen. Cops show. Clear out the house. Line everyone out in the yard for IDs. Said grad runs full bore out the front door with a fire extinguisher over his head. Empties it all around the yard and screams ninja. Vanish, dust clears and all the kids are gone. Cops let him go with a warning because they couldn't stop laughing. My new hero. Walked into a theater party to see a girl, butt naked, do a line of coke off a guy's dong. I'm dead serious. You can't make this crap up. There was a group of students that attempted to found a religion and declare one of the dorm buildings a sovereign nation. It got far enough that the US military had been contacted with an offer to set up a military base in exchange for beer and their finest of meats and cheeses. They indeed get a response. Well, no crap. Freshman year there was a kid who lived in the dorm next to mine who was pretty quiet and didn't really do too much. He would butt into conversations during the floor meetings trying to be funny, but it was usually painfully awkward. 2 weeks into school I come back to my floor with a group of cops by my door to find out this kid had been leaving notes talking about suicide and killing people around campus, and he was kicked the frick out. Last year we had a Nintendo themed birthday party for a friend, and crap was out of control. Multiple people got taken to the hospital for alcohol poisoning. I was about 3 hours into an acid trip when it started to pour rain, and the host, my good friend, decides to bust out a slip and slide. Not too many people joined in until some girl dressed as Princess Peach decides to strip down naked and go for it. TLDR. Freshman neighbor got kicked out for leaving suicide notes and I saw Princess Peach do a naked slip and slide while I was on acid. I did not expect the outcome of that Mario party. When I was 18, I was at a party and was asked to hold a guy up inside a shower as his buddies ran a tube down this guy's throat and filled his stomach with water from the shower head. He was very unconscious and had apparently overdosed on something. He puked everywhere and they put him on his side. I left very traumatized and shaken. He was fine the next day. It terrifies the crap out of me to think back about what would have happened to us all if that kid would have died. I was a dumb kid. TL. Doctor. Homemade stomach pump for a kid that overdosed at a party. Good thing it went into his stomach and not his trachea. Yikes. Vichy Riot. Smell of death after a kid living in the room above mine killed himself and wasn't found for 9 days. Dude smashing his head in a running fan for $1. Getting freaking attacked by Romeo and Juliet swans. And not being able to do anything about it because they were protected by the school. Lancelot and Elaine. I forgot their names after 7 years of being away from ISU. Freshman year, I was walking to the party house district and saw a huge crowd on the road just off the main strip of bars. In the middle of the crowd was a pool of Jello with 2 topless chicks wrestling. About 10 seconds after I realized what was happening, the cops showed up. Several hundred people sprinting away while these 2 poor girls struggled to climb out of a kiddie pool in the middle of the road was a sight I will never forget. Senior year, someone had thrown a bunch of mattresses and a sofa away across the street from another party house I attended. A drunk idiot got the idea to light the pile on fire in the middle of a drought. If you never realized how fast a fire can get out of control, just start an unprotected bonfire on a residential street next to a dead tree. Thankfully the fire department showed up almost immediately, or the blaze would have torn up the yard and most of the block. The tree was almost completely on fire when they showed up and they had to prop it up so the neighbors wouldn't have a flaming elm falling into their kitchen. TL. Dr. Topless wrestling and mattress fire. My house had a birthday party for my roommate's 21st. One of our roommates was a year below us, so he and all of his friends who were over were under 21. My roommate, whose birthday it was, let's call him Tim, tended to be an angry drunk. So he really didn't like it when the younger people at the party were disrespecting him in his own house. What was even worse was when one of the younger guys puked at the bottom of the stairs to our front door. He couldn't get outside cause the door locked with a key from the inside and we never used the front door. This kid passed out in a chair in the middle of the room sometime after midnight while everyone else was out at the bars. When Tim got back to the house, completely blackout drunk, he saw this kid who he couldn't stand passed out with his head hanging over the back of a chair in the middle of a room. This kid's who puked at the bottom of the stairs. But naturally, he decided he needed to put his balls on this kid's face. He dropped trowel down to his ankles and, covering his shaft to keep it respectable, just plopped his balls on the kid's forehead when this kid happened to wake up. Probably from all of the people standing around laughing or trying to convince Tim to stop. So, this kid, balls on nearly on his head, did what anyone waking up surrounded by people would do and started flailing his arms and legs. This resulted in Tim being knocked off balance and him tripping backwards. This wouldn't be a problem if he was standing basically at the top of the stairs, with his pants all the way down at his ankles. He rolled all the way down the flight of stairs, landing at the puddle of the passed out kid's puke at the bottom. Tim's other friend and brother pulled him up, stripped him naked, and put him in the shower. TL. DR. Kid pukes. Other kid tries to put balls on said kid's face. The definition of karma ensues. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.